Shall we do a? Oh wait, that's. Let's go. Good morning. Welcome. My name's Andrew Campbell. Today we are judging the 2019 AIPP Epsom Victorian and Tasmanian Professional Photographer Awards. This is the portrait category, sponsored by the lovely people at KL and Canson. Give them a big shout out. You know what wonderful stock Canson make, and KL are really, really nice people and they help us out a lot. I can speak from personal experience with that. I'm capably assisted by Luca. Luca is on the microphones and the scribing today. And we have wonderful judges here. We have Julie Ewing. Ta-da! We have Karen Alsop. We have Dean Mansbridge. We have Lacey Barrett. And we have Christopher Ian. First up, bit of a powerhouse group, this one. And we've got on the bench, we've got Jacinta, we've got Sue Ellen Cook, Vicky Bell, and Karen Karen Tobia. Sorry, got my Karens and Karens mixed up. Category preamble for portraits. Portrait photography is broadly defined and can include family, corporate, travel, creative and interpretive portraits. Entries into the portrait category will be judged broadly based on content, impact and professional quality. The judges will be asked to consider portraiture in its broadest context. The portrait category will be judged in two sections, portrait open and portrait single capture. I believe we're starting with single capture. That's what it says on that screen anyway. Polyptics, diptychs, triptychs, etc. are permitted in both sections. In the portrait open, entrants may use all post-production techniques, including multiple techniques or elements in producing their entry. And in the single capture, which is what we're doing now, the section is intended to reward technical and creative excellence in photographing and presenting an authentic representation of a scene without the benefit of creative compositing techniques. So, are we all comfortable, happy, ready to go? We good out the back, team? Come and show your faces, ladies. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Sorry, one more time on the names.
Kathy, Merida, Anastasia.
Thank you, ladies. Well done. Right, get back to it. Let's crack on. Let's have the first print, please. Are you all good and live here? Okay. Maybe mention that to, wait a second, I need to push a button. Alrighty, thanks team. This print scores 71 and we'll accept that. Now the closest one to that score is Karen. Could I get a comment from you please, Karen?
I think this sits in professional practice and the communication is quite strong, but we're losing a lot of detail in the shadows on the left-hand side. So if the photographer can just refine that process in lighting.
Good. Thank you. Let's have the next print, please. Print score is 75, almost unanimous with our judges in this case. Dean, what would the entrant do you think, to lift the score on this one at AIPP?
Sorry, very comfortably in professional practice because there's a lot that's been done well. I think things like the composition are working quite strongly here. I'd look at potentially a different lighting technique. The way that the catch lights are formed in the eyes, whilst the lighting has been very flattering to the subject, the catch lights in the eyes look quite distracting, almost disturbing. So potentially a different technique there might see it done better.
Alrighty, thank you for that. Let's have the next print, please. Doing great. I got a bottle. Hasn't come up. Thank you. I'll remember that eventually. Print scores a silver award at 81. Our first for the day. Woohoo! The closest there, I think, is Julie Ewing. Could we get a comment on that one, please, Julie?
Yeah, quite unique and very like an interesting portrait. I love how it's been handled. I feel for APPA, though, to bring this up even more, look at your paper stock, because we are getting some unusual movement in the paper, and just reprinting perhaps a little bit more detail in the black areas, because it's really an incredible image and could come even higher, I feel.
Thank you, Julie. Let's go to the next print. Thanks, team. This print scores 79 average. So, Lacey, if you want to, you can challenge that. You have some support from Christopher. So, go for it.
When this image turned around, I immediately got excited about what I was seeing. And I think I got excited because this is a very fun, loving relationship, it appears. And this may sound funny, but I was immediately drawn into the story because this seems like something me and my husband would do, like lick each other just for no reason other than you can just do it. Just there's a little quirkiness of a sense of humor, of a relationship, of fun, of and the paper and the quality of that black and white and the way it's printed is stunning. And I would love to see you guys come up to a silver.
Thank you, Lacey. Now, Karen, your score would suggest otherwise. Could I get you to talk to the print, please?
Yeah, I guess I just didn't connect to it as you did, Lacey, so I'm taking in what you said. Thank you.
I'm going to ask Chris, who's up there in the silver.
The total success of this portrait is that the author has engaged with his subjects. It's not like a sterile thing. We've got movement in the composition, and it's glorious.
So, Lacey, you now have what's called a right of reply.
I agree here with Christopher that it's not just about the story that I connected about, but just about the technicality that's been taken with care in this print, in the emotional capture that you get from the person who is about to be licked and the person doing the licking. So there's this really beautiful circle, and I would love to see you guys come up.
If you could rescore the print, please. Lacey, I think you just do nothing. So, Lacey, is the technical term for someone being licked a licky? Let me see if I can help you there. Try that, guys. Print now scores a solid silver award at 82. Well done, team. Well done, Lacey. Next print, please. Thanks, Julie. Print score is 74. Let's call on Dean again for this one.
Thank you, Andrew. I am a little bit concerned here that I think the focus point didn't quite hit the subject in the eyes. I think it's more on the nose there, which is a really minor sort of different thin depth of field. But when the display print that we have in front of us is so large, there's no room for error with things like that. So that was really letting it down from going any higher in the professional practice range.
And just adding something positive to that.
Yeah, I did think that the actual look of the child, it was a very, very powerful look. Perhaps the photographer could also look at the quality of the printing and the detail in the print too.
Thanks, team. Good job. Let's go to the next print, please.
Strength in the character and the look, but the reason I couldn't go up to gold was, and I know it's single capture, but just where the paper was placed right next to the hand, and I
Moment here.
Image, well done.
Next print, please. Thanks. So I need Julie, Karen, and Dean. No? Try again.
I really loved this image when it first turned around with the use of colors and the yellow and the blue and how everything really meshed so beautifully together.
Cool. We'll go to a blank. Thanks. Got your help? There'll be a little something.
There are the issues I have with the print.
Thank you. Let's also hear from Vicky, please. Vicky Bell.
I absolutely love the printing. I think it's beautifully finessed. The lighting, all the things that Karen said. Probably my only holdback was just the certain awkwardness with the hands, and maybe just readdressing the posing would be my only suggestion. But otherwise, beautiful.
All right, back to you, Karen.
Having a boy about this age, it's not easy to get them to pose and get all the hands and everything right. So I think looking at that,
Thanks, team. This print scores 76. We will accept that score with a comment from Christopher Ian, please.
You've got a fantastic use of bokeh. Your bokeh colours are actually represented in the subject. That's very clever. To induce a sense of power, you've actually allowed the person to sit on. You've gone too far. The neck needs to be extended to feminise it, or at least give the woman some sort of strength in there that's not too aggressive.
Thank you, Chris. Next print, thanks. Keep things moving, please, paint team. Print scores a silver award at 81. Let's hear from Vicky Bell on this one, please.
I'm just so loving the energy in this family. They can adopt me. There's just so much, for a single capture, there's just great energy, great expressions, perfect moment, celebration of family and life, and that's what a great, family portrait photographer does.
And that's keeping it positive. Thank you. Next print, thanks. Karen, there we go. This print scores 78. Julie, you can take that on if you want to. You'll be on your...
Yeah, why not? Let's give it a go.
Okay.
It had a lot of power to it. The use of colour within it, yet flatly printed. I don't know, it just told me a lot about their characters. They're perhaps, they want a brighter outlook, but they're being suppressed by the dullness of the image. But I just found it very powerful and their expression suited. So I think this deserved a silver and have scored it accordingly. So perhaps you could all have another look.
Karen, please.
Hi, I gave it a 75, which I think
Print score is silver at 84. Challenging from Julie in the 90s. Go for it.
Sublime and so delicate and just beautifully. I love. Sorry, take out the eyes. Beautifully presented in the way that it's framed, beautifully printed with a really muted black and white palette, which adds to the softness and yet also the strength of the image. The identical gaze of their eyes, the just beautiful soft expressions. I think everything about it just has such a really powerful yet delicate approach, and I think this is quite unique above usual standard. It has an outstanding visual communication. I think this deserves a gold. I think we could go a bit higher here.
Alrighty, let's hear from Vicky. Vicky's on 82.
Yeah, no, I agree. It is incredibly intimate and Tetris at its best. Beautiful. The only thing, I guess, for me was sorry, I shouldn't say that. Her ear seems to be growing out of his chin, and a certain sort of awkwardness in the way they're kind of jigsawed together. And I would love to have seen his chin just lift a little bit more so it wasn't so collapsed. It just needs a little bit more fine tuning in the connection.
Let's hear from Sue Ellen.
I really enjoyed the range of tones in the skin. It's beautifully printed. The gaze is so engaging and quite mysterious in what they're trying to communicate to the photographer. I think it's beautifully printed too. And I'm listening.
Back to you, Julie, or right of reply.
I hadn't noted his chin, so it obviously didn't distract me from the yin and yang. I just think the artist has taken such a different approach to this portrait, and to portray a relationship that is close yet in a very unique way. It's got a bit of Herb Ritz around it or something. It's just, it's very spectacular. I think this really is the most beautiful thing we've seen, and I think it deserves a gold.
Alrighty, folks. Let's rescore this print. Currently, it's a majority 84. And now it's a silver distinction at 88. Cool. Next print, please. Print score is 75. Let's hear from Jacinta.
Yep, great subject we've got here. Just watch your focal point here, because I'm kind of noticing that the sharpest point in the image is actually her glasses rather than her eyes. So it's just a few stops out. And we're just losing a bit of definition in her chin. So just watch your lighting and dodging and burning when editing.
Thank you, Jacinta. Next print, please. Jacinta, I don't have your score. Thank you. This print scores 77. Sorry, do you want to... currently it's on 77. I need to find out, first of all, if Julie wants to challenge it. Okay, so you'll get a chance, Chris. Julie challenges it in the silver range there. Go for it, Julie.
Yeah, I actually gave it a solid silver. I just went, this is the next ad for on the back of one of those Siggy packets. The actual detail in those fingers is incredible, but yet in the background you have that emaciated figure. So it's really telling us a powerful story there of what his jets are doing for him. So I really believe this had excellent visual communication and deserves a silver.
Chris.
I find the issue with the prints, if you're going to go to a didactic portrait where you're trying to have a message, follow it through with everything. Your lighting, your content, your styling, because the packaging is too fresh, everything's too fresh, it's too overlit. You're going for a didactic result. You're trying to prove a message. Prove it through the whole content.
Alrighty then. Vicky, please.
What Chris said.
Back to you, Julie.
It gave a very powerful message to me, and I actually very much enjoyed the cropping of it, and the way that the hand led you into the way the arm, and then that emaciated chest. So I will stand by my convictions. I've given it a solid silver. A few more points would be excellent.
Rescore, please, team. Print now scores by majority silver, 80. Alrighty then. Let's move on to the next print, please. Print score is 73. Let's take a comment from Sue Ellen on this one, please.
It's a very different composition to what we usually see for portraits, and so from that perspective it's quite interesting in the professional practice range. The image would be improved with not being quite so close and perhaps being printed smaller. It's a little bit imposing.
Perhaps some attention could be paid to the ear as well, which seems very hot. Let's go to the next print, thanks. Scores, please, lovely people. This one could be interesting. We've currently got a score of 83, but we've got judges at 90. We've got one at 75. And you know how this goes. So, let's hear from Christopher, who's scoring this at gold.
If you took out the emotional elements that are involved in here, technical exercise, low-key portraiture, dark skin on matte paper, how exquisite this is and how well it's done. But the emotional content is what you're looking at. The contact of family members to the newborn. It's beautiful.
And thank you, Chris. We'll hear from Sue Ellen now, please.
I hear what you're saying, Chris, and agree to some extent, but I think it would be improved if it was slightly brighter. I feel the lack of contrast is a bit too strong.
Okay, let's see. I might hear from Vicky.
It's beautifully and delicate. I guess my reaction is it's very busy with all the hands. It's almost too handy. And for me, it just sits perfectly in that silver ranged, beautifully finessed printing-wise.
All right, so Chris, back to you.
The contrast is evoking a mellow moment, and I think that's an intention. It's not going to have maximum blacks to whites because the skin tones won't allow that. The circular crop also is adding to the storytelling, and the absolute absence of any other detail apart from hands and flesh. It's very well contained.
Folks, the print is currently scoring 83. Chris is asking for gold. I'll ask you to rescore now. Print now scores silver distinction at 86. Nicely done. We'll go to the next print, please. Sue Ellen, I don't have your score. Thanks, team. This print scores 75. Looks like we'll accept that. And we'll get a comment then from Jacinta, please.
What a character this lady is here. But what I think is missing is more of a story that we've got, because the connection between the photographer and the subject I'm not quite getting. I feel like she's just been told to look into the camera and have a gaze rather than creating a story. And you've also got just one thing, if there's a cord coming down the back that's really distracting, which is going right through the centre of her head. So I'd probably remove that one.
Thank you, Jacinta. Julie, I'm going to swap you now, if that's okay, with Karen. You've had a good hour's run there. Thank you for your service. We'll bring Karen Dobia on board. That's one way to make an exit. Yet. Yes, so we'll welcome Karen, Photographer of the Year and Portrait Photography of the Year and all that fun stuff. Next print, thanks. Score is 78. We'll accept that score as no judge is more than 3 points away from that. We will, however, solicit a comment from... let's go for Jacinta.
I think this has got potential. It's really good storytelling here, but there's just the distracting element of the actual, I'm guessing it's another subject or the jacket that she's leaning on. We've got shadows and highlights and it's quite distracting. And I probably want to see more definition in her bone structure on her face. So that could be some lighting techniques you could look at.
Although it's a nice homage to George Hurrell and the Hollywood lighting style, is it not? You know, it's got that sort of Hollywood thing. And I was actually lucky enough back in 1986 to be trained by Mike Owen, who is in turn trained by Angus McBain in this lighting technique. And Angus was actually the person who discovered a certain actor called Audrey Hepburn, picked her out of a chorus line. I had lunch with him. Next print, please. Doing it. Come on. Come on. There we go. There you go. Print score is 83. Unanimous silver award. Well done. Let's have a comment from Sue Ellen Cook on this one, please.
Beautifully strong image, which reflects the subject himself. And the light reflecting on his hands and jewellery on his hands really is quite exquisite. Well captured.
Thank you. Sue Ellen, I'll get you to hold the mic a little closer to your face, just so the live stream people can hear you. Thank you so much. Next print, please. Print score is 71. Christopher, could you comment to this one, please?
There's nothing that's in focus and there's no reason in the content to tell you why that's a technique that's contributing to the storytelling.
Next print, thanks. Oh, blank screen in that case. Pull out the back. Yep. Shortly. Ready to go? Let's go to the next print now. Print score is 79. So, Ellen, are we going to leave it at that, or are we going to have a crack? Your call. All right, good for you. I'll do that. You just talk. Speak favourably about the picture.
This little child, I'm assuming it's a boy, I probably shouldn't assume, but the engagement with whatever he's looking at is just captivating. It's so strong, which is an unusual thing, I think, when photographing a child of this age. They're well inclined to look at the camera, and I think that this is an exceptional capture. The skin tones are just beautiful. There's sort of nothing missing. I can't sort of say what brings it down. To me, it's just a beautiful piece of child portraiture.
Chris, I could call on you in a moment, but I'll hear from Karen first.
I think it's a lovely capture. Oh, I can't say I. It's a lovely capture, and the eye is absolutely beautiful. Oh gosh. The light flaring from the back onto the child's face. They've burnt down across the forehead, so there's a grey band
In the background there, I just think that emotional connection and expression is far more powerful than anything else in that image.
Folks, let's rescore the print. It's currently... Vicky, please. Here we go. Print scores a majority 80, a silver award. Okay, let's hear from Karen on that one.
It's a reference to an old age, an old era, especially with the costuming. There are
See, Karen, it's right there. Print score is 76. Okay, let's hear from Sue Ellen on that one, and while that's happening, we'll do a little judge changearoo. Thank you, Christopher Ian, for your very loyal service there. We'll bring Dean Mansbridge back on board. Dean's all the way from Tasmania. Technically, that makes him an overseas judge.
Should I put on an accent?
You have one, love.
Thanks for having me, everybody. Yeah, there's always.
You happy for me to? Yeah.
Yeah, go for it, mate.
A beautiful, and definitely in professional practice range. The face is a little bit flat, a little bit more sort of shaping in the bone structure. The eyes a little bit pale, so perhaps just to the quality of the light used to capture the face, but quite beautiful hair and separation.
Thank you, Sue Ellen. Next print, folks. Print score is 78. We will accept that score and we'll ask for a comment from 78.
lighting.
The EYE that she's holding. Um, and that's a very important part of the story here. So where the face is perfectly sharp, the hands, etc. So that could be improved, but congratulations again, well done.
Excellent. Good feedback there, thank you. Let's go to the next print. Print score is 72. Let's hear from Vicky.
Molto bene. I'm assuming it's Italy. I find the lady far more intriguing than the sculptures. The sculptures are dominating, blown out. It's just a matter of handling all those highlights. It's quite severe. So, yeah.
Next print, please.
Thanks, team. Print score is 83. Solid silver award. Let's hear from Karen on this one.
Use of colour and balance is really strong in this image, and the sense of symmetry. It also gets us questioning what we're looking at, which I think is really interesting, and I commend the photographer for that. For a single capture, we're looking at a female face and a male body, and so the makeup artist or whoever was involved in putting this together alongside the photographer's concept has done a great job at working together to
A score which we will accept, and we'll have a comment as well on this one. We'll ask Dean to speak to this while that's happening. Just hold on 1 second, Dean. Vicky, I'm just going to give you a Thanks, judges. This printer scored 77. And on that 77, let's hear from Jacinta.
Really quirky. I really loved this when we've gone up to it. For those who can't see, it looks like a father and son or something, but the father is the one that's actually on the roof. There's a story here. I'm wanting to know a little bit more with the story, and also the lighting on the door on the right-hand side is just a little bit distracting. My eye's leading there rather than the subject standing on the roof.
Thanks, Jacinta. Next print, please. Thank you, Sue Ellen. Print scores 79. That's where it's going to stay, as no judge is more than 5 points away in this case. Let's hear from Dean, you're closest to that score.
Definitely sits within professional practice, but potentially a bit of a missed opportunity and could go higher. You've got a wonderful subject matter here, and the contrast between the two subject matters is fantastic. There's a few technical things. Our blacks have completely disappeared into the bottom with no detail, and I think there's a bit, I can't remember where it was, I can't see from here now, but a bit of the background behind the dog's ear or something that's a lot lighter. I think it might have been missed in the treatment. So a little bit of finessing and potentially looking at a paper choice that gives us a little bit more detail in those black areas could help you going to APA. So well done, and keep going.
Thank you. So overall, a bit heavy-handed. Right. Okay. Let's go to the next print. Print scores silver at 81. Andrew Esposito, haven't heard from you yet today. Welcome.
Congratulations to the photographer. Absolutely amazing concept in delivering a beautiful message with such a beautiful palette of colour being used. I would have scored this a little bit higher if we had a place, and I'm not negative on the print at all, but I think it's an amazing print to look at. The expression in the gentleman's eye is so captivating that it cannot be dismissed, and it's such beautifully done.
Thanks, Andrew. Next print, please. Dean, I don't have your score. Nope. Yep, there it is. Thank you. Nicely done. Print score is 81. Don't you guys all get on so well? Hey? Print scores of 81, 81, 81, 82 and 80. Okay. Where's the, you know? Not like my family. All right. Next print. Oh, sorry. You're right. I didn't get a comment. Who would like to comment? Go for it.
The composition, cropping, lighting, all add to such a beautifully playful image. It's most
Just a quick judge change and we'll go to the next print. Karen, can you step in for me? Next print, thanks. Thanks, Karen. Print score is, it's coming, There we go. 76. Andrew, do you want that? You'll be on your own. Okay. Very good. Let's hear from Jacinta on this one, please, as a comment.
It makes you smile, this gentleman. He's obviously got a amazing character. What's letting me down is when we're going up close to the print is the focal point. Like, we're really struggling to find a focal point. There's no real sharpness in any point in the image that I'm trying to find.
Thank you very much. Next print, please. I'll just swap Karen for Andrew. Let's get some scores in, lovely people. Jacinta, I don't have yours, I'm sorry. Here we go. We seem to be on go slow modem again. This printer scored 77. Almost unanimous. Every judge is within a point of that. Let's get a comment on this one from, well, maybe Jacinta.
Yeah, really interesting composition, this one. Just a few things is watch the highlights on the female subject there. It's really, really bright and saturated. And just when you're sculpting body shape, wanting a little bit more definition, especially in the gentleman at the bottom.
Scores, please, team. There we go. Thank you. Magic, isn't it? This print scores 77. Okay. Go for it.
Thank you. I thought it was an amazing print as soon as it turns. There's great tonality in this, and I don't know what I'm looking at, but I presume, if I'm allowed to say that, it would be a cabbage in that sense. I almost got confused in the sense of looking at it when it presented itself to me, that was I staring at someone's cap or some sort like that, photographed from behind. There's great tonality in this, and I think it just sits just at the silver range. So I'd be great to listen to more what you chaps have to say.
Well, let's hear from Dean.
Awesome.
Had your chance.
Oh, I've looked at it. Confused was the word that I think you used in there, which was something that I felt as well, and I will speak about the way I felt about it just briefly. I think there's some technical elements that are done well, but some perhaps not so much. When first presented with this, it had impact, so definitely there was something unique about what we've been presented with here, which I can appreciate. I held it in the realm of professional practice, because I didn't feel that there was anything extra being presented with us to tell a story about the portrait of what we're looking at.
However, I can't quite... If there was another element to this image that added to the story, I think it would improve. Because there's a lot of imagination in there that your imagination can run away with itself. It looks like roots of a tree. It looks like a skull cap, that type of thing. So it just perhaps needs a hint of something more to tell the story that the photographer was intending.
Let's take this back to Andrew.
Great comments, and thank you very much. It is purely because of the confusion that made me look twice. Sometimes prints appear in front of us for a particular reason to make us think a little bit different, and I was thinking different when this turned. Was I looking at a cap? No. I was looking perhaps at a cabbage upside down to make me confused in the sense of what is it exactly that I'm looking at. So the composition-wise and in that sense delivers quite well. There is tonality right throughout this, and I think the only thing that I didn't take it any higher would have been that complete highlight in the centre. If that was printed down a little bit more, I would have done probably heaps more on this one, because I think it's a great concept and it's well delivered. It makes you look twice and it's done its job. How I felt.
Let's rescore, folks. The print is currently on 82. Just keep those critical language skills in practice. a few less eyes and a few more objective comments. It's all about the print. It's not about you. Sue, please. There we go. This print now scores 79. It's gone up a couple of points. Well done. We're going to have a little judge change here. Dean, I'm going to ask you to step off, and I'm going to bring on our super sub, Karen, to take a seat there. Sorry. Thanks. And this print has scored 78. Almost unanimous again. Okay, let's hear from Karen Alsop on this one, please.
A great print of perhaps the first day of school. The communication is very strong and the way that it's been laid out is great. So well done. Yeah, I did struggle a lot with the technicalities of this. The focus being on the elbow more than the eyes, the white balance being very warm. Those things really pulled me down in the story being quite strong, I think, but just the technicalities pulled me down.
And Jacinta, please.
Yeah, I can see both sides. I'm hearing where Andrew's coming from, because I do see a really strong story and message here. But then I also see the technical difficulties that Karen has mentioned. So I do think that I've encouraged the photographer to maybe have another go at this, because there is a story here. We've just got to get those few technical things spot on. I think Andrew is what's probably holding it back. That's the only thing.
Back to you, Andrew.
I don't really mind that, because it's a new concept that's delivered to us. The shadows on the elbows, for me, works extremely well.
Grab a comment from Karen on this one.
This is fantastic. The detail in this dog, the little
Into Delben.
Yeah, great storytelling of this subject. Obviously a painter or an artist in their own environment. Well done on getting a silver award. I think the colour palette is beautiful. The only thing that maybe I would experiment with...
The portrait single capture category. Thank you. You guys have done a great job. I'm not in trouble because we're on time. Supposed to do 25 prints an hour, and we are slightly ahead of the game despite the starting things. So there we go. Now, let me just sort out who's sitting where. So just stand, stretch your legs for a moment. Sue Ellen, I'm going to give you a break. I'm going to bring Bruce on board now. And the rest of you, I think, can stay for now. Do you want to go now? Yeah, go. Sorry? Look, just go. Come back when you're back. We'll give everyone just a moment to do that. Lovely live stream audience out there. That's the end of the portrait single capture category. We're about to go to portrait open, and is where entrants can use all post-production techniques, including multiple images or elements in producing their entry. So the standard, I'm sure, will be interesting and well worth looking at Once again, we just acknowledge our lovely sponsors, KL and Canson. If you haven't dealt with them before, may I recommend you do so because they're really nice people with great products. So we like to thank them as much as possible. Okay, get you all to sit on back down now, please. And I'll just shuffle my judges around a bit on the thingy here. It was definitely a low Eddie. Sorry, I can't remember the exact number. Thanks, Jacinta. Take a seat. Alrighty, we all good out the back? Ready to rock and roll on the Portrait Open category of the Victorian Photographer of the Year Awards, brought to you by the lovely people at Epson? Let's go, folks. Let's have the first print of the Open category. Okay. Julie, can I sit, please? No, just not when I'm talking. Thank you.
I couldn't let it go past 80.
Thank you. Karen Alsop, please.
I think, Andrew, they're all the things that fit into professional practice. I'm not at the moment seeing anything that takes us into a silver, and I am distracted by a few things. So the immense black at the top, I wonder whether that could be cropped. I'm not sure of the story of this person, why they're there. Perhaps a hint towards that would help. And the positioning of where her head is and then the numbers behind sort of trailing off are also in such a symmetrical image that's just a little slightly off, so my OCD is kind of getting frustrated with that. But yeah, let's hear more.
Julie, please.
I agree with both of you. I found this of high professional practice, but not something to blow my mind any further. The conveyance leading up to the black space, I think, is what the distraction is. I just kept getting led to that large amount of what, you know, the 1/3 placement there of darkness, which doesn't have any detail in it. So I awarded it high professional practice, but need more, Andrew, please.
Andrew, back to you.
Situation to be at and photograph. And having said that, the photographer has dealt with that quite well. If it was all aligned and perhaps a little bit the judges have said, I think I would have scored that 85 with a silhouette distinction. There are tonality with that in the foreground which balance with the tonality on top, the blacks and the whites down the bottom. With the great tone, with the message delivered of that person, I will not try and read a story in that except to say that this photograph delivers quite well. The more I look at it, the more continuity it has for me to capture my attention, and it's done that quite well.
Let's rescore, folks. Print is currently on 78. Print has gone up to 79. We'll accept that and go to, well, Julie, would you mind just staying in there for me? Would that be all right? I'm going to keep you there for a little bit. Thank you. Go to the next print, please. See, could you step in for this one for Karen, please?
I'm not sure. But no, absolutely beautifully printed. And I think it really does deserve a silver with distinction.
Let's rescore, folks. Print's currently on 83. Well, you asked for a distinction and you got one. 86. Congratulations to the entrant. Next print, thanks. Print scores 79.
Right-hand side, it just shouldn't be there. And the softness of the skin tone and the sharpening of the eyes, I think is just a little bit overly done, which is what sort of stuck me into the professional practice range. So that's where I'm sitting at the moment, but still listening.
Okay, well, you can listen to Karen now. She's at silver.
Yeah, I think it is a beautiful image. I probably would have even gone higher had
Thank you. Got them all now. 76. Let's actually hear from you, Chris, on this one, please. You're right on the money.
It's as though the cropping tool has just dropped down on a photo of Adele. It really is a one-trick pony. There's only one thing happening here. It's the cropping. And the eyes aren't as expressive as you'd want if you're going to focus that much on them.
Thank you, Chris. Let's go to the next print, please. This print is currently scoring gold. But I don't think it's going to stop there. We have a number of judges who could challenge, but I'll take the highest one. Currently, that's Judge 2 at 98.
I have an exhibition, massive. It's class leading. This is the quality we all aspire to. It's represented in, it's beautiful. Tonality, the styling, everything. It's just perfection. It really should represent what our professions are. It seems to have been a single capture in the sense that the stylistic stuff has been added, but digitally. And that, to me, is just even more evocative of perfection. This is really the highest standard in Australian photography and should be rewarded as such.
Bruce, I'll hear from you, please.
I think I was light on my score, actually. I totally agree with you, Chris. Yeah, it's evocative. It has everything you're looking for. He stands dimensional. I absolutely love that we can instantly tell he's a paper artist, and everything, those whites and those creams.
Print score is 79.
Listening to what everyone else says.
Thank you. But you got your wish. You got a silver at 82. Well done to the entrant. Next print, please. Print currently scores 88. At 95, I'd expect nothing less.
Colour palette, composition, emotional value, and everything else is in this image for me. I scored at 95 with the thought that it would probably score a gold in a sense, so I'd be listening to what the other judges have to say before my response. Yeah.
Christopher is at 83. Let's hear from Chris.
I'm listening to you, Judge. I really am, because I too love the colour palette, and I do love the expression, which wasn't mentioned in the boy's eyes. So you've got subject to camera. Beautiful response. I just thought there wasn't enough content.
Scores 82, and that's pretty much unanimous. Well done, please. Print score is 77. You want to challenge that? Okay. Your 83 is locked in. Go for it.
This is actually a really powerful portrait. I guess we can all read into it differently, but the fact that she's got something on her mouth
Child.
Karen, back to you, please. Print score is 75. Let's hear from you, Vicky.
I'm enjoying the drama and the theatre of the studio portrait. I would be revisiting the styling. She's got little wispy hairs that are intruding on her beautiful jawline, a little thumb poking out that kind of is quite distracting. So just neaten up and calm down the lights that are hot spotting the cape and enjoy the theatre of it.
Let's get those scores in, folks. Print scores 83. Silver award. Yeah, you can have a crack at that. You've got it at distinction, so go for it.
Yeah, I gave this a distinction because it's not meant to be real. And so I've awarded it for the thought that's gone into it, the drama, brilliant colour palette, and the cartoon-like feel that it has, which makes it a different genre of portraiture because it very much has that cartoon effect. But all the characters in it, oh God, I can't even speak today. Characters in it are so well dressed, and you know it's so well designed in all the effort that's gone into it. So it's beyond and above just a silver. I think we should be looking at a silver with distinction.
Thank you. Let's hear from Vicky Bell.
Do I get a slap on the wrist? Yeah, perhaps a bit harsh there. Incredible effort, and I applaud the photographer with so much incredible theatre and finesse in styling and colour, etc. It feels so cut out around the hair, around the shoulders. I want more of that realism, and it just brings it up for me, even into the silver distinction. The believability has got to be there in the way it's all collaged and created together.
Thank you, Vicky.
Yeah, I actually really wanted to go up to gold with this. I really, really did, because the characters and the everything that's presented in the foreground has been done very, very well. I just couldn't, though. It's the background, it's the trees. The green has been added to the trees, but in some areas it's been missed around the edges of the trees. Look, if the photographer could address that, I'd be going up way higher. So I'm 85 at the moment. I really want to reward this artist for what has been accomplished, but I just wish I could even go up to gold. I just can't quite.
Okay. Ooh, really? Very quick.
There's only two of these subjects which the audience won't get that are seeing their focus at the right point. It is always going to be the hard complication of bringing elements together. But there's only two subjects there that have actually worked out at exactly the plane they should be. The others are being imagined of something which they can't see because it's not been constructed. And that lets it down.
Julie, back to you.
All of the above that adds to the cartoon-like effect of it. I wanted to give it higher as well, and I would have if it wasn't so... the differentiation between the foreground and the background wasn't so strong. So I feel if that was attended to in the printing, it would have scored higher. I still believe that it's an extraordinary image that's been constructed here and is deserving of a silver with distinction.
Okay, we've had a good chat. Let's have a bit of a rescore, folks, and see what we think. This is currently on 83. Rescore. Not happening. Not happening here. Let's see if this helps. There we go. Print now scores silver distinction, 85. Nicely done. Okay, next print. Score is 69. Let's hear from Vicky on this one, please.
Consider the angle, the wide angle focal length that you use, because can often be quite distorting, that 35 or 24 mil, whatever it might be. So I'd revisit my focal lengths to start with.
Okay, thanks, Vicky. Let's move on to the next print, please. Print scores 78. We'll accept that score with a comment from Christopher Ian.
The issue with the back eye is that it's dissected, so it's neither a profile then a proper clean 3/4. You have made a bit of a mess of the neck too. It's an unfeminine neck. So
Thank you, Vicky. Next print, please. Print scores unanimously, almost. 83. Very solid silver award. Next print, please. Oh, whoa. Sorry, my bad. I need a comment. Julie's desperate to comment.
Yes. It is a really powerful image and could have gone a lot higher. I felt the over sharpening in it with those little black speckles and lines, just too much. Soften it back a little bit, but it's got enough within it to give it that power without that over sharp. On that, congratulations on your silver.
Thank you very much. Let's go to the next print, please. Julie, thank you. Got it. Print scores silver distinction at 86. Let's hear from Mr. Moyle.
This image is really evocative. It's male and it's female. It's got that strength in it. I think it's the photographers captured it really well, and the texture and the printing, that background is amazingly sublime. I think the thing to help it would be just to somehow carve the figure out a little bit more with some dodging and burning, just to make it pop just a little bit further off.
Thank you. Let's go to the next print. Print score is 77. Once again, you guys are almost unanimous. You're all getting on so well. Let's hear from Karen, please.
An interesting concept, the way that it's been framed there. Perhaps the photographer could look at just drawing our attention away from that white line that's at the bottom of what looks like a plate, and more story or more communication between the subject and so we understand what's going on more.
Thanks, Karen. Next print, please. Print score is 69. Let's hear from Jacinta on this one, please. How could we help this entrant?
I think we need a little bit more storytelling here. What we're getting is elements added to the image that aren't actually helping the image, if that makes sense. And our colour palette is just sort of too cool. And then we've got a highlight on the top of the mermaid's tail, the reflection on the face, just a few things. Revisit it because it's a good idea, but just get a little bit more communication between the photographer and the subject.
Thanks, Jacinta. Good comments. Next print, please. Print score is 83. Silver award. Let's see now. I think we might hear from Jacinta on this one.
Beautiful storytelling, Alice in Wonderland. Great idea on the actual story itself and how it's being captured. Beautiful colour palette, beautiful printing of the paper. I'm not quite sure how we could enhance it to the next level. I think it sits well. Oh, there we go. I think someone else wants to speak, Karen. But yeah, well done to the photographer.
Thank you. Let's have the next print, please.
slight turn to add to that slenderness and that delicate nature of the print.
Very good. Next print, please. Print score is 82, a solid silver award. Dean, how would you, what would you like to say about this one?
I'd like to say well done. I enjoyed the colour palette here, all sits very, very well. I think it would have been made stronger if the expression was a little bit more, I don't know, if we could connect as a viewer with the expression a little bit more, and also to make the light that would be coming through that window play a part in the scene in the foreground. At the moment, there's a realism missing, but well done.
Thanks, Dean. Let's go to the next print. Print score is 71. Okay. Julie, what could we do to help the entrant?
A bold choice. I think overlit needs to tone down. I did love her hair with the matching little bit of orange in the background. But I think the pose is a little too static and the lighting is far too bright, and then the background, maybe look at another background.
Next print, please. Thank you, Julie. Dean, I need your score. There it is. Print score is 77. Let's have a comment from Karen, please.
This is actually a really beautiful image. What could bring it up would be more detail. There's some softening that's gone on, even the slits of the eyes. It'd be great if we could see the delicate eyelashes, and there's some loss on the side of the dress. So if I can look at the work on that and readdress, that'd be fantastic.
Thanking you. Next print. Print score is 84, silver award. Karen.
This is actually very cool. It makes you look and then it makes you look again. There's the photo of the reflection. I'm still left trying to figure it out, which I think is wonderful. So well done on getting a silver.
Dean, did you desperately want to say something?
No, I think we all really enjoyed the way that the way it was matted, so we could see it's like the Polaroid. I think that was a nice little touch that really added to it. But it was a lot. It's a lot of fun for something very simple and black and white. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, a lot of thought's gone into that. It's been presented beautifully. Next print, please. Print score is 80, silver award. And Vicky Bell, we haven't heard from you for a while.
loving the fashionista styling in this and her captivating gaze. So it all works well. I'm really enjoying the colours are crazy good. So yeah, it's one of those cases where you can just get away with all that unusual skin tone because of its context of it being quite fashion orientated.
Thank you. We'll have a quick blank screen if that's okay. Judges, I'm advised that you're about to be given 3D glasses. Everybody look at the chair. There we go. Oh, very nice. Thank you. All right. And if you're ready, we'll go to the print, please. Your scores, please. Cover your 3D glasses for a second. Oh, thanks. Print score is currently 89. However, we have 2 judges at gold, and the highest one is 93. Vicky, would you talk to the print, please?
Hello, print. Well, there's some photographs that you look at and there's others that you experience. And I think this is one of those cases where you want to sit with it, not just for a few 30 seconds, which is totally unfair, but you want to step into that scene and be part of that. I'd get my gear off for that. All right, it wasn't a threat. Yeah. But it's reflective of the craft and the body work that this particular artist does. So it is just the epitome of, really an environmental portrait, or I don't know, reflective of her, who she is and what she does. There's a beautiful sense of everything in here, and colour and shape, and it's seductive, and it's you want to be submerged into it. It's just exquisite.
Let's take the lowest scorings judge now. Let's go to Karen at 86.
I agree. We need more time for this one. It's just one of those ones that you need to take in. I'm on the lowest. Maybe the only thing that pulled me down that not into gold was I just found the top that she's wearing not blending with everything else. But that's her. That's who she is. She's dressed as her, and all the other bodywork is drawing my attention. So I am really listening. I just want to keep looking at it and finding more in it.
Go ahead, Julie. Thanks, Karen.
I think the image is outstanding. I think the glasses are superbly underrated and did not do the artist any, I couldn't see through it. It actually destroyed the image to me. So if we're going to do this work, we need proper 4D glasses to be able to evaluate whatever. Yeah, so the image is outstanding. The glasses did nothing for it, but I'm all for gold too.
Dean, you're at gold.
I am, definitely. Heaps, definitely. And that's without glasses. Again, I think it is so strong and powerful without them. It almost became a gimmick. The print, so I'm happy to judge it without the glasses. It is such a beautiful telling of this person's personality. I really love the play on the fact that she, as an artist, is specialising in a bright and colourful palette with her work, and she represents that in her personality as well, but in such a dark environment. The creepiness of these darklings coming over the top almost, I think, for me, say something else about this person, that she isn't always bright and colourful. Maybe she's fighting against an inner darkness, and that could be why she's wearing such black clothes, perhaps. So I really thought that that narrative came across so strongly for me. And I think the sort of print that you can see from a distance and go, wow, this is going to be awesome, and then you get up into it, and then there's just more and more and more and more story that it's giving you is just outstanding. So for superior creativity, vision, craft and skill, all those big words, very, very comfortable in gold. I think we all think it could be gold. No, that didn't work. So congratulations. I might come higher.
I think Bruce has got something final to add there.
Yeah, I'm just going to say this is amazing to look at from backhand. The thing that the audience are not seeing with these glasses, which I did get, which even though they're not the best, is that the jellyfish pop, like they come out, you get that depth. So there's already depth in this image, but it just adds that extra thing. So yeah, better glasses, you'd see that. But the other thing I really loved about it is you've got really cold tones and you've got these bright fluorescents, but she stands out. She's right there in the middle of the image, or just off centre. But, you know, that's an amazing feat unto itself in this image. So, I'm going up.
Vicky, you started this ball rolling.
I'm going up. Sorry, microphone. Look, the only skin tone is her skin tone, and, you know, regardless that, like, the print is a tapestry. Like, every pixel is considered and beautifully crafted, and we applaud that incredible craft and we aspire to that craft. This is the epitome of that, where where I certainly would love to go. And it's the patience and the time and so much energy that's been put into composing and planning and all those things that I certainly don't do. And this is a result of all that fine effort and all that years of, passion or whatever it might be. It's all there. It's a pinnacle. Like, it's beautiful. So let's let's reward and aspire to beautiful photography.
Okay, folks, we've all had a good chat. Let's rescore this print. It's currently on 89. No, you're locked in at 93. Print now scores gold distinction at 95. How we going, team? Print scores 81, Silver Award. Bruce, can we hear from you on this one, please?
I think the concept of the ripped up and put together photos, it looks like it's, you know, father, son, grandfather and mother and daughter is really great idea. I really encourage exploring this. I just think the actual images themselves just need a little bit more finesse. They're just a little not sharp enough, and yeah, and the skin tones are a little out. So yeah, just work on the actual photos, but the concept itself is great.
Alrighty then.
Up higher. Not quite sure about why the chick is in the nest, but it really is beautifully printed and nice colour tone.
I'm just letting that go straight through to the keeper. Next print, thanks. Print score is 78. Okay. Oh, have we? I don't think I can let you challenge it, but you can comment on it. Go ahead.
The figure is striking and beautiful and strong yet feminine. The thing I think you need to look at is that background. You've done really well with tones on the dress. For the most part, it's very well. It looks like it's blown out from here, but when you get up close, there is quite a bit of detail on it. But that background is not helping your image. It feels messy.
Okay.
She's a very beautiful little girl, and it's got lovely lighting on her. However, the catch lights in the eyes are a bit distracting. You need to look at where the position of your lighting is or eliminate one of them. But beautifully softly printed, a bit more expression would have been nice to bring it up higher.
Fair enough. Thank you. Next print. Print score is 76. Vicky Bell, please.
She has such a magnificent gaze, like very captivating, and yet it's competing against all that mottled highlights that are filtering through her hoodie. So I don't think it's doing her any favours. So just turn her away from that bright light, soften it.
Okay. Thank you. Next print. Print. This print has scored 71. And we might take a comment from Karen on this one, please. How could we assist the entrant?
I think it's an interesting concept. I think when you're dealing with reflections over a subject, that's a really hard thing to manoeuvre, and perhaps by reconsidering the shoot itself, reframing, and making sure that your focus is on the face and not on the arm.
Okay, thank you for that, Karen. Actually, on that, I might swap you out of there if that's okay. Chris, can you take the end seat for me? And we'll go to the next print, thanks. Print score is 76. Dean, let's hear from you, please.
I think you've done technically really well here. There's a great amount of detail throughout the whole print in a situation where it's not always possible. So well done there. I don't think the expression here is the expression is what's letting it down for me. I think perhaps engaging with the subject a little bit more would have helped to give us a bit of a better sense of character.
Thank you, sir. Next print, please. Print score is 72. Vicky, what could we do to assist this entrant?
I've got to watch my puns. I can feel one going on. No. I was going to say the tones are quite smoky, but that's probably not the right thing to say. I think if you're going to do something like this, then I'm looking for mood, a lot more drama and mood in the lighting, and maybe even in the way she's, costumed and dressed as well. That would create more impact.
Thanking you. We'll accept that and go to the next print, please. Print score is currently 89. The highest scorer is Julie at 92. You can challenge that.
Oh, we're only one off. Let's give it a gold. I think the medieval nature of the jewellery, it kind of has a bit of an evil look to it, which I think then is represented in her eye. It's not an attractive portrait of the woman. It shows her strong and in the type of jewellery she makes. And rather than making her look very attractive and soft, that is magnified by her eye there, the greenish tone. It just really brings to life what she creates, almost looking a bit like a torture chamber, but I'm sure she's very nice. But it's beautifully printed. The detail is in everything. It's just a sublime print. I think really this does deserve a gold.
Vicky at 86.
I'm absolutely seduced by all the elements in there and want to dive in and have a play with all those incredible pieces of jewellery. I guess it sounds odd, I just wanted to lift her eye up. I felt like her whole face was collapsing and it just felt really uncomfortable and awkward, but maybe that's a reflection of, you know, her character. And so, yeah, I'll come up a bit.
Okie dokie. Lacey at 91.
Yeah, I was really overtaken by this one, and the more I looked at it, the more I could see that when you love something, you're just all in. There's no question about it, and I think this is very clear in her story that she's all in. Very recklessly, there's the candle there, quite possibly a fire hazard. She doesn't really seem to care. She's just sitting there in her element, doing exactly what she loves, and yeah, I'm quite comfortably sitting on gold.
Julie.
I believe the placement of the magnifying glass is totally what gives this image its power. It's made to give her that slightly grotesqueness, but it also, that is her style, that is her jewellery. She's saying, this is what I create. It's not pretty. It's not, you know, something that's going to be walking down an aisle at a normal wedding, but perhaps at a goth wedding. I just think that represents her. She doesn't care that it makes her face look a bit of a misfit. I think it blends and just tells that story perfectly of her character. Let's go. Gold with distinction.
Let's rescore the print currently on 89. You're locked in at 92. And the print scores a gold at 90. Very cool. Next print, thanks. Print score is 80, silver. Let's hear from you, Vicky.
Really enjoying the colour, and the fusion of colour is just so beautiful. It's delicate, it works. I'd love to see a little bit more engagement with her expression, and it's, yeah, I would have come up more.
Thank you. Chris, I'm going to swap you out of there if that's all right. I'm going to bring Karen Dobia back on board. And we'll go to the next print, please. Print score is 82, silver. I'm expecting a challenge from yours. Score at 89. Go for it, please, Lacey.
Can we just appreciate the color palette of this for a second? And the crushed velvet of the blues and the reds and the red hair against the red background and the really exquisite posing that we have going on in this headpiece and the details in that crushed velvet and shall I keep going? I am really encouraging you guys to come up to Silver Distinction. We have this beautiful Madonna-like subject sitting in front of us. Her face is really reflecting the outfit that she has on, and yeah, I'm really keen to see you guys come up.
I'd like to hear from Julie.
I appreciated all the things that you said, and I did think a very bold background colour and so well done. However, I found the hands, the colour tone of the hands just doesn't match the alabaster of her décolletage and face. And so there was things in it that brought it down. I scored it high professional practice, not to an award level, because I do feel there's quite a bit of finessing to be done into the print to score it there. I also found her expression just a little dull.
Okay, and I think I'm going to call on Karen for a comment now.
It's funny, I agree with both ends of that spectrum, actually. I think this image is strong in its colour choice and in its styling and in its lighting, but it's lacking in its print. And it needs contrast and it needs some sharpness. The only sharpest part is the eyes, which is great, but the hair is flat and could benefit from some additional luminosity lift and maybe even considering a different paper choice. I've avoided an 84. I think that's sort of where it sits for me at the moment.
Lacey, back to you.
I did notice that there was some problematic issues with the hands and the fingers. I chose to overlook that. This color palette just really took me over and just pushed me right up to the next level. I don't think that I've ever seen something quite presented like this in these textures and colors, and yeah, I was able to overlook those small technical aspects.
Alrighty, team. Print currently scores 82. Let's rescore. Lacey, you're locked in at 89. Print now scores 84. Very solid silver. Sorry? Next print, please. It does. This print has scored an average of 85, but a majority 84. Silver award. And just for the benefit of all those in live stream land who may not be aware what the difference between an average and a majority is, we work on a majority rules here, so if 3 judges are in one scoring range, regardless of the average, that's the range that it goes to. Well done. Let's get a comment from Lacey Barrett.
The story here is really quite strong. And I just wish that that image on the left had been a little bit bigger in that frame so we could really see all of the beautiful colors and details where that rope hits her skin and is cutting off that circulation to really tell us what that shibari is about.
Thanks, Lacey. Next print, please. Print score is 76. We'll accept that score with a comment, please, from Dean.
I think the expression here is working really nicely. You're getting a sense of wonder that this person's having at the moment. It's just a very technically flawed print with the way our blacks are disappearing, and the real bright spot in the bracelet really does keep drawing your eye down there. I also wonder whether negative space on the opposite side of the image would have helped the eye wander in a more logical direction.
Alrighty then. Let's go to the next print, please. Print score is 81. Pardon me, silver award. We will take a comment from Karen, please.
I'm so glad you asked me. This image is beautifully balanced. The concept is interesting and a little bit different. The colouring, the colour palette and choice of colour palette and lighting. If this was to go into APA, you need to pay some attention to the grounding of the subject. So the shadow underneath where they sit, there isn't one. And when a subject sits on a surface, you need to ground it. And the same with the books. The books are grounded there, but they still feel a little bit like they're floating.
There you go. Next print, thanks. This printer scored 75. Dean.
I think we have a great excuse me, subject and location here, and I think I'd like to encourage you to revisit perhaps reshooting this with a little bit of a change of camera angle to really enhance the symmetry of the structural elements within the frame, and perhaps a bit of a sense of movement. It seems that the subject's standing there and a clearer focal point. It also looks like there's some pixelation going on, like it's potentially been enlarged for print or something like that. So you're definitely moving in a good direction with your work. Keep going.
And we'll have the next print, please. Thank you, Dean. There we go. Print score is 80. Silver award. What do you reckon, Vicky? If we want to take this to APPA, what will we do to make it even better?
Just wondering if there's might be a bit more space around her, just so it's not so suffocating, just to let her breathe a little bit more in that perimeter of the frame.
Okay, short and sweet. Let's have a judge change. That's all right. I'll take a nice long walk while I've got my foot in my mouth. Andrew, would you come on board for Julie, please? Julie, my clock says you've been there for a long, long time. Yeah. Let's go to the next print anyway. Print score is 73. We'll accept that with a comment from Lacey, please.
Yeah, compositionally, this is a strong image, but there's some chromatic aberration going on up in the trees. You can either fix that in post or crop that, and I think that will help a lot.
Okie dokie. We'll accept that. Thank you. Vicky, did you desperately need to? Yes. You go brush your teeth, and we'll get Super Sub back up here just for a second, if that's okay. All right. Thank you. Next print, please. This printer scored a very solid silver at 83. Comment from Dean, please.
Just really love to commend the photographer for providing us with something, presenting us with something so unique. Like, it's so strong. A couple of us sat back here and just enjoyed the initial impact that was really strong. So yeah, congratulations, beautiful print.
And I think in 25 or something plus years of being involved with APPA, I've never seen a mat quite that shape before. So yeah, it's original. Well done. Let's go to the next print. Print score is 82. Very solid silver. Andrew, let's have a comment.
A great concept. I thought it was absolutely beautiful when it turned. Good tonality in the sense of the palette of the colour used in its composition in that sense. But I probably feel that the hands, in the way that they're placed and against the body, could have had a little bit more softness to them, in a sense of the placement of the hands against that soft, elegant, feminine body. That's all. Would have taken a little bit higher for that.
Unit. Yeah, go ahead.
Mention in bringing it up a bit higher, the angle that the horse is on, the perspective is different to the floor. So if that could be addressed, that would bring it up too.
That's good advice. Next print, please. Print score is 78. We'll accept that with a comment from Karen, actually. Right on 78.
Yeah, it sits well in high professional practice. There's a lot of character here, and really enjoyed looking at what was going on and trying to figure it out.
Thanks, Karen. Next print, please. Okay, this print has scored a solid silver at 81. And we'll elicit a comment from Karen, please.
This is a bold portrait, bold, striking. The colour is wonderful. And the use of red and the cyany green, because they're closer to complementary, works really well. The lighting choice, there are technical concerns with this print and with the post-production that can be worked on for APPA, so pulling back on the skin processing, particularly on the forehead.
Thank you very much. Andrew, I think you can come back now. Vicky, thank you for stepping in. Next, please. This print is scored by majority, 80, a silver award. Let's take a comment on this one from, maybe from Dean.
I can bring something of value. It's challenging. It's a challenging print. I think it's quite unique. And I think it does, both the treatment in what we're presented with suits the character of the portrait of the person that we're looking at. So that's why I've put it into the into the award range. So congratulations for bringing something unique that worked.
There you go. Thank you. Next print, please. It's like that. Musical chairs. Yeah, this one scored a solid silver at 82. Let's take a comment from, let's take a comment from Vicky in the middle.
I love anything whimsical and delightful like this, and childlike is beautiful. I almost feel like the bird's too blurry, and I know it's moving, but I just feel like it's just almost dominating the entire print was this, very blurry feathers. I almost feel like I needed to see a bit more clarity.
Thank you. If you'll just rearrange yourselves, we'll go to the next print. I know. I'm just. Yep. It's a shuffle. Okay, we've got a print score of 74. And I think we'll take a comment from Karen in the middle there, please.
Yeah, it's the pose probably isn't as flattering as it could be, and just look at just the overall posing and connection. It's a professional practice print, so well done on that.
Can we have the next print now, please? Okay, this print has scored 83, a very solid silver award. And we'll take a comment from Lacey, please. No? From Karen? Karen? Karen.
The treatment on the face of the cat is strong and sharp and clean. The background blurring's not necessary. We've got eye contact with that subject already. It's commanding the space. So I would take the blurring off that background and perhaps increase the crop on the top so that you've got a bit more space to breathe.
There you go. Alrighty. Let's have a judge change. Lacey, can I swap you out for Sue Ellen Cook, please? And while that's all happening, we'll go to the next print of the Victorian Professional Photographer of the Year award category. And Tasmania, I beg your pardon. Brought to you by the lovely people at KL and Canson and our overall sponsor, Epson. We love you all. Thank you so much. Victaz. Does that mean this is the Victors? Another touch change required. And the print score is, by majority, 80, silver. Sue Ellen, a comment, please.
A very engaging portrait and beautifully focused. I think it's a cracker.
Short and sweet, and to the point. Lovely. All right, next print, thanks. Print score is 76. Karen, comment, please.
Posing is subtle and soft, but the focus is all off. The focus is on the fabric across the head, and the bright yellow in the background. Sort of, I would dull down.
Thanks. Okay, we'll have a judgy change. We're going to swap Dean with Jacinta. Thanks, Dean. And we'll go to the next print now, please. Print score is 76. Jacinta, comment from you.
With this one, just watch your connection. I find like we've got her, she's obviously gazing somewhere up above, but we're not quite sure what the message is, the connection between us and the actual subject. And just your lighting, because it's quite, just her neckline is quite muddy and her cheeks. And so just your processing, just have a redefine that and you'll hopefully be moving up into the next stage. Well done.
Thank you. Chris, I'll get you to stay there for a little bit longer if you don't mind. We'll accept that there. We'll go to the next print, please. Print score is a solid 80. Silver award. Hold on, Chris, before you eat that chip, comment please. You're just the last man on the line there.
You've got a really beautiful sense of balance of light between a backlit subject and the girl. It's creating an atmosphere. The believability's fading very rapidly because the scene has no... The palette she's holding is brand new, never been used. There is some creativity there, but you haven't thought through all your elements to make it convincing.
Thank you very much. Next print, thanks. Print score is 77. I don't think it's going to end there. We've got a range of scores here from 69 to 84. Sue Ellen, what do you say we give this one a bit of a chat? You want to have a crack? Go for it.
As soon as I saw this, it reminded me of like an Archibald painting, portrait painting. The texture throughout, like on the leather jacket, is just beautiful. There might be a few technical flaws, but the character in the image is just divine. The skin tone, I think the texture probably won it for me, and I believe it deserves the silver.
Okay, can we now go to Karen?
Yeah, I'm down the other end. And it's primarily because I'm finding there's too much green in the tones. There's the hot spots in the cheeks, and then there's quite a bit of green in the hair, and the skin tone feels greenish to me. But the actual portrait itself, I'm impressed with. It's just the printing and the colour tone that has brought me down.
I'm going to ask Jacinta to speak.
I agree the texture is beautiful in the jacket, but unfortunately what's letting me down is there's no focus in the subject's face. So there's no sharpness in his eyes, and I feel that the connection is lost, whereas if the subject was actually looking directly into the camera with a gaze, we'd be drawn more in. I just think the expression is possibly the wrong expression for the image. And he looks like he's sort of floating from the stool on the bottom.
Okay, so let's take this all the way back to Sue Ellen, who started this off, and see where it goes.
A classic portrait obviously does engage, and often the eyes are looking at the camera, but I think there's more of a story behind this man's face that coming through of sadness, of self-consciousness, being a bit sort of shy of being photographed perhaps, and I think that is the strength of this image. I think the colour palette's beautiful because it sort of backs that up, that sadness, the cooler tones throughout the background particularly. I still think it deserves the silver.
Well, let's see what happens. Let's rescore, folks. Currently it's on 77. Print is now on 79. Missed it by that much. There you go. All right, next print, thank you. You guys can swap yourselves back again. keep up with all my judges changing around here. Print scores a majority 85, silver with distinction. And we'll take a comment on this one from whichever judge is sitting in the middle. That's you, Dean.
I think that's me. This was a delight on the census, really. It's just a bit nuts. And I think that is a beautiful, beautiful thing. I hope that was the intention, to really showcase the personality of this crazy acrobat circus performer person. I think in such a busy, constructed environment, the personality still really shines through, which is a challenge, I'm sure. So congratulations, well done.
Thank you so much. Now, if you could just rearrange yourselves back the way you were before, we'll go to the next print. Tell you, it's the rotation of judges here is astounding, really. Let's get those scores in, folks. I'm just waiting on Sue Ellen. There it is. Print score is 82, a very solid silver award. And we'll take a comment on that one from Jacinta.
Super adorable. This is really, really great storytelling with our centre subject, obviously the serious ballerina of the lot, the rest a little bit crazy. One thing to sort of have a look at is maybe the lighting on the faces. Try and bring some direction of light into the image. Otherwise, well done on Silver Award.
Okay. Can we have the next print, please? Print score is 84. Let's take a comment from this one from Sue Ellen. And Chris, can I get you to swap out with Karen, please?
Beautiful portrait of a beautiful woman. The strength in it is jumping out of the page. Her jewellery is sublime. I think it's just a really powerful image of a woman.
Thank you. Let's go to the next print. Print score is currently 84. It's not going to end there. Andrew, you've given it 92. Let's have a challenge from you.
Yeah, I did. Absolutely beautiful composition. An array of colour presented in the composition itself, which requires attention for us to be led from the very bottom to the very top, and the eyes move around absolutely beautifully. The message delivered in this, I probably could have stood there for a lot longer trying to work it out, but there is something happening, especially with her, with a tear so beautifully captured from her left eye coming down. So I thought it was well deserved of an image which exceeds its craft in composition, lighting, execution, technique, and everything else.
Sue Ellen, on the other hand, her score's a little lower than yours. Can I get you to speak, please?
I agree with a lot of what you've said. The image lacks a bit of believability. It's a bit staged, and I don't quite believe that tear, and I think that it's the darkness of the lower part of the image doesn't balance the light on her face. It's just those sort of few technical things that perhaps detract from me getting the story.
Thank you, Sue Ellen. Let's call now on Karen.
I think this is deserving of a silver distinction. The colour palette is pleasing, and the cropping and the impact that this image has from a distance is great. You can see the texture and the framing with the trees around our subject. When you go closer, there's a softness about the edge of the face and of the hair that doesn't match the eyes. The eyes have been sharpened so much, and then there's a softness throughout the rest of it that I feel that the post-production is pulling it down. The lighting is lovely.
I take all those beautiful comments from each and every one of you, and thank you. In possibly the old painting, we have such language called mannerism, where the placement of a flower is put in someone's hand to depict a particular story to be told. I believe this is leading us to believe in that. And part of this in mannerism in paintings could also be that she's probably not fertile in that sense. I don't know. She could be crying in reference to that. But the point about the overworking and everything else to the face, it needs to stand out because that's where the message is being delivered. And that message is very strong. And it's beautifully held together in composition in the sense of, like the old painters used to do, introduce typical trees in the background to support the image. And it's absolutely, I feel this image has quite a strong sense of communication and delivery. And for me, it was a gold.
Well, let's see what happens as we rescore the print, which is currently on 84. It's now an 86, silver distinction. Congratulations to the entrant. Next print, thanks. And this print has scored 73, almost unanimously. Let's take a comment from Karen, please.
There's a colour cast going through this whole image, a white balance issue that needs to be addressed. There's a magenta cast through it. The blacks are quite heavy and fall off very quickly. and considering a recrop because the interest is actually in the eyes and not in the reflection.
Thank you so much. Next print, please. Jacinta, Sue Ellen, thank you. Quick score's a good score. There we go. Print score is 81, Silver Award. We'll take a comment on that one then from Karen Alsop, please.
This is a great environmental portrait. It actually made me think of my brother looking at it. It's showcasing all of the different aspects of this character. One of the things that may lift it up even further is it does have a drop off to the right in the perspective. Shot wide angle, it just feels like it's tilting to the right. So if that could be looked at, that would bring it up higher.
Thank you so much. Let's go to the next print. $87. Andrew, do you want to challenge that? You're at a little bit higher. Okay. We'll let that challenge go through then at 91.
So we're only 3 points away. The impact this image carries when it turned is powerful. I may say that I would have scored a little bit higher at some of those things that my fellow judges will bring to the table in a few seconds. Will respond to that in that sense. If they were taken care of, I would have scored it possibly a little bit higher. I'll bring to the attention has the facial expression that the child has and how the eyes have been so meticulously put together in that eye socket with white balance right around that. And also on the forehead and as well as the chin area, that tiny little specks of, I'll call them the highlights, need to be in place to hold that position. And also the placement of the body and all the colour palette delivered to us is absolutely amazing. So I'm looking for a gold, ladies.
Well, let's see what happens here. Sue Ellen, you're at 84. You're currently the lowest of the scorers. It's always a challenge when we get the judges in mid-munch.
Beautiful portrait. There's no doubt about that. And the engagement with her face is superb. I actually love her hands, the way they're held and the vegetation within it. I think something more to the table in terms of story would bring me up into the gold. It's a beautiful portrait, absolutely no doubt, but it needs something extra.
Karen, please. You're pretty much right on the money at 87.
Yeah, I feel quite comfortable there on a silver distinction. There is surely a story here, and I believe there is, it centres around death or the death of a loved one or something along those lines with the outfit and potentially with the flowers that are being held. It's a very powerful piece, but yeah, I do need something more to bring it up to that gold level.
Okay, well, Andrew, what do you got?
Very much. Well, I don't know what more a print may have to bring to our attention. If it's outstanding visual communication and interpretation with an emotional impact and technique, this print has, well, it's already been said by all the judges that it carries that. So for me, it doesn't need anything else. It's absolutely strong and it's powerful. If you move around the room and you come to this side, it's just as powerful if you stood in front of it. So there's a message beautifully delivered and beautifully placed and composed.
Let's rescore, team. Currently it's on 87. Andrew's asking you for the next scoring range. Attention. 89. Yep. Unfortunately, there's no reviews, so at state level. Well done. Great job. Next print, please. Print score is a majority of 79. Okay, I do need to let you know you're well out on your own there.
I might get it across to a silver. I understand. It has impact. As soon as the image turned, its impact, it was amazing. It was beautiful. It doesn't have to be perfect in the sense of the spillage of colours and the tonality that's been used to that. And also, the message being delivered, you would think that you're standing somewhere in the old days in, you know, near Napoleon Bonaparte's courts in that sense. And that's how they would dress and that's how they would behave in a sense. So it's the unreal to make it a little bit more real for us. But I would like to see that at least come to a silver, if not to a high-scoring silver.
Karen at 77.
It could be a stronger piece. I just can't reconcile the treatment and the overlay that's on the characters behind, and the characters in the front are just not grounded to the floor. There's too many things pulling at me from a technical standpoint that I just can't look past. The characters are at the front, and the way that they're interacting and the power of what they're doing is fantastic. So I think it definitely has a lot of potential.
Okay, one more comment. I think we'll go to Sue Ellen Cook.
I probably agree with everything everybody else has said. And I agree with you, Karen, that background doesn't quite work with the foreground. But I thought about that when I was looking closely at it, and to me it looks like a representation of a stage play where the background is like a painted canvas, and the actors are in the foreground, and totally different sort of clarity to what they would be on a stage. There are a few technical flaws. It's clearly Alice in Wonderland again, perhaps, and I feel that there's a slight disconnection with the presume Alice at the left there. in her era of clothing compared to the others, and so it just jars with me a little bit.
Quickly, Andrew.
Yeah, thank you very much. Great comments, and it brings you to fantasize, doesn't it? It's almost like something out of a children's storybook where it doesn't have to be real. And its realness is its in presence of being not real to me. And I think there's a lot that's been done in this image. It's not just easily put together. If we look at the highlights everywhere on the shoes and the lighting and the techniques that it's used, the expressions, it's meant to look unreal, and I don't think I place it in the silver award range, and I would urge for that.
Let's rescore this. Currently 79. Oh, hello. Ooh, sushi. Aren't you sweet? You? Don't mind a bit of sushi. Do we have a bowl? Print score is now 79 by majority. Yeah, you underwhelmed them there, mate. I'm sorry. Next print, please. Down, big boy. Andrew, slow down. Just letting you know. Okay, print currently is 88. 88 is a good score. However, we have a judge well and truly in the 90s, so let's take it away, Andrew.
Yeah, I thought it was an amazing print when it turned, and its delivery in palette and colour and emotional value, for me, I scored it in the 90s. Yeah.
Let's also hear from, I mean, all the other judges are in silver distinction. So, Karen, you're at 85.
Yeah, I'm at silver distinction. It had the little boy blue kind of feel to it, and I love the character that's been portrayed here and the treatment. But in terms of story of communicating who this boy is or something fresh about the character that he's portraying, I'm just searching for that a little more.
Let's now hear from, let's see now. Karen Dobia, you're at 87.
I think this is a solid silver distinction. When from a distance, it's strong. Our eye goes to the place it's intended to go. The colour palette across the board is balanced and clean and soft. I was struggling to see the story in this, which would sort of push me up to that gold range. What I really enjoy is the freckle detail that is in the face and in the skin, and the way that the hair mimics the filigree on the back of the chair.
Thank you. And Andrew, back to you.
Thank you, judges. I saw a great emotional message delivered. It's as one would see in the old paintings, and for me, I thought that delivered it well. That's why I scored it a gold. Yeah.
Thanks, team. Well, let's rescore this one. It's currently got an 88. Was 89. Every point counts. Sue Ellen, I might swap you out with Bruce for this next print, please. I don't think so, to be honest with you. Okay, this print has scored an average of 79, and it will remain there because no one is beyond that. So we'll take a comment from Karen on this one, please.
I applaud the photographer for getting 4 dogs in shot beautifully balanced. They mimic the shape of the fence or the stonework that they're standing on. There's the post production in this image is blocking up the tones. We're not seeing the different subtleties of that hair that should be screaming out at us to want to pat these animals. So I would work on that.
Thank you, Karen. Can we have a blank screen, please? So, judges, thank you. That's the end of that category. I'd like to thank Epson for bringing it to us, along with KL and Canson for sponsoring the category itself. Particularly like to thank Luca here for doing an awesome job on the scribing. Thank you all judges with all the rotations that we had to do to keep everything safe and happy. Thank you print handlers, come on out, get a clap. You did a great job. And probably a 5-minute break till the next category or thereabouts, I would imagine. An hour? Okay, there you are. So enjoy your lunch.